Hello and welcome to episode 1 of Cold Waters. Cold Waters is a strategy game in which we will be captaining a US nuclear attack submarine set during a couple different what-if scenarios. Two of them are basically scenarios with what if the Cold War went hot, one set in 1968, the other set in 1984 I believe. And then there's a third game that was released more recently that is a what if scenario to where what if China kind of encroached on the South China Sea in a more violent way in early 2002, and that is the game we will be playing today. So let's go ahead and hop on in. So we'll go ahead and hit campaign, hit the South China Sea 2000 campaign. 2000, a major economic crisis sees the Chinese leadership make a military push to secure Hong Kong, Taiwan, and the vast oil fields in the Spratly Islands. A cash-strapped Russia, meanwhile, supplies the PRC with military aid. And we can see the difficulty down here is hard, very capable submarines and weapons, with hazardous mission conditions in the shallows, which is okay. I've played this game quite a bit, so I'm confident in us doing well. For a name, I picked one out. This will be Commander Adam Wilkinson in charge. Yep. We'll overwrite that save. And we will be using the Seawolf class nuclear attack submarine. In my opinion, it's without a doubt the best. You do have some of the Los Angeles class nuclear attack submarines, the Flight 3s and Flight 2s, but the big difference between that and the Seawolf is the Seawolf almost has double the test depth, which means we can go way lower, and it also has twice the amount of wires, meaning that we can fire twice as many torpedoes and keep the wires on them. And you can see down here there's some notes. The Seawolf is designed to be a superlative hunter-killer submarine that could penetrate the heavily guarded Soviet boomer bastions, which a boomer submarine is the nuclear missile submarines, and not only survive there but to thrive. The Seawolf features twice the torpedo tubes and twice the weapon load over preceding classes of nuclear attack subs, with better sensors and much better quieting than other subs. All of this superlative performance came at tremendous cost, however, and only 3 of the class were ever built, with SSN-23 becoming a special projects boat. But we're going to go ahead and get the opportunity to pilot one of these boats, or I guess command one of these boats would be better. And we will be assigned to USS Seawolf SSN-21. Straits of Crisis. In the year since Lee Teng-hui has pronounced Taiwanese independence after a national referendum vote, regional tensions remain high in Eastern Asia. While opposing military forces have been demobilized, diplomatic rhetoric has only escalated, with Chinese Communist Party representatives promising to return the renegade province back to the fold. The belligerent tone taken by the PRC over Taiwan has extended to Hong Kong, destabilizing regional relations and leading the UK government to indefinitely delay the planned handover of Hong Kong to China. Anti-Western protests have been a regular sight in mainland cities since. Tiger economy collapses. The economic collapse crisis that started with the collapse of the Thai baht in the spring has become a global financial contagion, showing no signs of abating. International authorities have been unable to develop an effective response due to escalating tension between China and the US, which has allowed the crisis to continue unabated. The Russians have been particularly hard hit, with hyperinflation taking hold and the ruble's value on the international market being wiped out. Desperate for foreign capital, the government has sold large amounts of military equipment to the Chinese, including advanced submarines along with Russian crews as military advisors. China on the offensive. China has launched a series of attacks along its periphery, placing recent sabotage against U.S. military installations in a new light. Tensions have remained high since Taiwan's independence and Hong Kong's failed handover, likely resulting in the PRC deciding that the time is ripe to resolve these issues and enforce their territorial claims in the South China Sea. Furthermore, analysts have noted in the recent months the Chinese economy may be feeling the effects of the Asian economic crisis. Capturing resource-rich areas in the South China Sea may be an effort to divert domestic attention away from the stark economic situation. But we will go ahead and join our crew. I believe in the base game we're based out of Guam, which is quite a sail from the East and South China Seas. But here's our first objective. Satellites show an enemy battle group armed to the teeth with cruise missiles is preparing to sail from Cam Ranh. Intelligence estimates they will make a patrol in the Philippine Sea. We're to locate this group and sink as many ships as possible. Previous recon indicates the force will contain at least 1 or 2 ships armed with anti-ship cruise missiles. These are our primary targets. Primary objective, locate and sink the enemy strike group. Secondary objective, locate and sink any escorting warships if possible. Avoid detection by enemy anti-sub warfare patrols, and we are weapons free. So one thing I will go ahead and do is swap out some of these weapons. Number 1, I lose the harpoons pretty much immediately because I find that they really aren't effective. Sometimes you have to shoot ships with 2 of them in order to basically sink the ship, so I prefer the Tomahawk anti-ship missiles. Other than that, I'll leave tubes 1 through 4 as normal torpedoes, but tubes 5 and 6 I'll set to the Moss. This is basically an advanced decoy that basically gives off the signal of a submarine, so we can use that to fool sonar along with torpedoes. And in the other 2 tubes I will load Tomahawk anti-ship missiles. That way, if we need to hit something that's running away, like a merchant or a ship with minimal missile defenses, we can fire those if we need to. Another thing about the Tomahawks is that we have to actually come up pretty shallow. I think it's less than 66 meters to fire those. So those can be pretty dangerous to fire. But anyways, after 12 hours, restocking all of our supplies, we'll go ahead and cast off. So the enemy was reported in the vicinity of Cam Ranh, which is down to the south down here, south of the Parcel Islands, or Paracel Islands. And they'll make a patrol in the vicinity of the Philippine Sea. So we're gonna sit probably in this gap right here. Actually, that's probably them right there. So we're actually gonna move forward and engage. We'll close to 20,000 yards. And we'll go ahead, all hands man battle stations. The first thing I always do, first thing I always do is slow the ship down to 0 knots. And the reason for that is because the slower you go, the better your sonar can pick up other vessel signatures. So we can see we've got Sierra 1 here, bearing 384 from us. Looks like we picked up 2 more. This SOL down here is solution. Basically, how readily accurate is your identification of the vessel. And a cool thing about that is we can look at these tabs down here. We can look at conditions. We can see there's no thermal layer we can hide beneath, and ambient noise is 86 decibels, which is pretty average. But where we really want to look is signature. And here we can see this is actually the sonar signature that Sierra 1 is making. And I can pop open the ship guide up here, and we can actually go through this list and match up the lines to identify ships. So this one looks like just a normal merchant vessel. Now we can click on S2. You can see it's different, so we'll keep going through the various catalog. You can see this looks like a Django 3 FF. So basically you want to match the top lines with the bottom lines, and where all those lines match up is going to be, you know, the vessel signature that basically the prop gives off as it goes. Do also have Sierra 3 here, which actually looks like a Kwangsha LST, which is interesting. And then our final vessel, we have 2 lines on the far right side. So we'll go through here. This is probably a Luda, so this will be our primary target, I think. They definitely has missiles. Another thing we'll go ahead and do, we'll plot a course to roughly the middle,
322,
and then set speed to 5 knots.
Maneuvering up.
Go ahead and make that turn, so that way the middle of our ship's kind of faced in the middle. That is indeed a Luda out there.
Con, helm, steady course.
So we got Sierra 5 for a second and then lost it. And we also have, oh no, that is Sierra 5. So I'm going to go ahead and fire off a torpedo at the Luda. And you can go ahead, you'll hit spacebar to fire. We could go ahead and port this torpedo directly at the ship. However, the issue with that is that when you do that, it's very easy to do a back bearing on the torpedo. Basically, you just look in the direction that the torpedo was fired and fire a torpedo directly in the opposite direction. So what I like to do to try and basically kind of throw off the enemy from knowing our position is what's called doing a dogleg of torpedo, which basically means that we fire these torpedoes off left and right in opposite directions, and then we'll have them turn at the last minute into the target. And the reason we can do this is because most modern torpedoes are actually wire guided, similar to the tow missile if you're familiar with that, but these are actually wire guided torpedoes that we can actually control. We can tell them when to arm, we can tell them all sorts of interesting things. Go active, so they each can have an active sonar component in them. Right now we have them set to passive, just because they're much harder to detect that way. But for now, we'll go ahead and speed up time a little bit to let the torpedoes travel. And actually, I'm already going to start doglegging one of the torpedoes in.
Sierra 4, last bearing 3, 4, 2, contact faded.
And once this torpedo gets roughly perpendicular, I'm going to go ahead and send the torpedo in at the Gangju now. Or Zhanggu, sorry. Chinese names and enunciation is not my specialty. So you can see once we got to the edge of the weapon acquisition kind of cone, the weapon acquired the Zhanggu here, and it's now going to track in the target.
Sonar regained contact.
So the ship now knows it's being tracked by a torpedo and has launched a countermeasure, but since we have control over the torpedo, we can just steer it back in. Another thing I'll go ahead and do is turn on the active sensor now, which makes it a little bit harder to kind of guess, or a little bit harder for the ship to evade it because it's now actively pinging the ship. Then we'll move our other torpedo here over to the left. And that's a kill.
Sierra 2, last
So you've sunk one of the vessels.
3, contact breaking up.
I do want to go ahead and move my other torpedo down towards the Luda. We can see we also have an enemy aircraft in the area that just dropped a sonar buoy, which isn't great, but we can't detect where that is. Here we can see the Luda. Aircraft jumped another torpedo, and I can actually hear a helicopter there also. So all that stuff is stuff we have to watch out for.
Con, fire control, weapon acquired.
So our torpedo just hit something. What it hit, I have no idea. And this last torpedo, we're gonna have to go ahead and shoot directly at the Luda because
Torpedo room, 2-1 ready.
honestly I have no idea what our other torpedo hit. My guess is it was probably an enemy submarine. It could technically be a whale. Whales actually do also show up on sonar as unidentified contacts. But I'm gonna think that was a submarine, or gonna hope at least. They say shooting at whales is bad luck, and of course we don't want to harm the wildlife.
Bearing 2, 7, 8, contact faded.
But yes, we will continue with the ship, or with Torpedo 2, and on the Luda.
Con sonar, noisemaker bearing.
Turn it
3,
to active.
0, 3.
And
Con
impact.
sonar, noisemaker bearing. 3, 0, 1.
So that now makes it our second sunk Chinese vessel. We'll go ahead and load the torpedo, load tube 2 again,
Con, torpedo
and
room
now
2-2
with
ready.
what appears to be everything taken care of, and me not wanting to be involved further, because I think this might just be a merchant, not an actual enemy merchant vessel, we're going to go ahead and leave combat. We can see that we sung the Zhenghu 3 and the Luda. What we actually hit with the other torpedo was probably this Ming submarine, interestingly enough, which escaped. That was probably Sierra 5, and then there was also a Luhu vessel, which was undetected. So let's see what the results are. Excellent job, Commander. Your neutralization of this high-priority target will severely reduce the enemy's ability to hinder trans-Pacific convoys. Send Pack sends regards to you and your crew. Stand by for further orders. Convoys arrive. Cargo ships from North America and Japan continue to ferry goods into the region with minimal losses. This has been attributed to efficient cooperation among Allied naval forces. The convoy system worked in World War I and World War II, and it still works today, a spokesman for the Pentagon said. Meanwhile, in the region, food and material shortages have failed to materialize in the unoccupied territories. Authorities urge citizens not to make runs on the banks, but instead show restraint so that the financial system can remain functional despite the ongoing conflict. So you can see if you have successful missions, you get good news. And we'll get our next series of orders. A wolf pack of enemy attack submarines has been operating in an area 200 miles west of Manila in the Philippines, where they've been terrorizing coastal shipping lanes as part of Beijing's strategy to pressure Manila into reining their support for the United States in this conflict. So they want us to transit to the South China Sea and conduct an anti-submarine warfare suite of the area. So we need to locate and sink enemy submarines, which I think is doable. And before I can even tab out, we've been contacted by something. My guess would be this is actually an enemy force doing anti-sub warfare. So we'll go ahead and close to 20,000 yards.
Make
Turns knots to 0. And unfortunately when you're stopped, it puts you at the surface, which isn't great. One thing I do want to do is set depth to 600.
Make depth 6, 0,
And
0,
so
make
that
dive
with
on.
our ballast will lower us down to 600. And another interesting thing is I've not picked up anything on sonar, meaning that here we're probably dealing with an enemy submarine, and the fact that we cannot pick it up is not good. So what I'm going to have to do here to see if I get anything is turn on active sonar.
Con sonar, switching to active search.
And we hear the response.
Con sonar, switching
Turn
to
it
passive
off.
search.
We also saw an indicator of where that noise came from. So we're going to fire a torpedo off in that direction.
Aye, sir.
No dog legging here because of the fact that we don't know where it is. We're just trying to follow the indicator line of where that sonar came from. So we just want the torpedo to run and hopefully find something. Let's go ahead, turn active
Con
sonar on
switching
again.
to active search.
We can see it's up here now. Oh, and we saw a torpedo fire, which means we're actually going to go ahead, decrease depth much greater, probably down to about 1,400 feet.
Make depth 1, 4, 0,
Oh, we might be
0,
dealing
make
with
dive
2
on.
different
Shoot,
subs
shoot.
here, so we'll shoot
sir.
a second torpedo.
Con, fire control, weapon acquired.
We have had weapon acquire
Con
something.
sonar, noisemaker bearing 095. Con sonar, noisemaker
And
bearing
impact.
09.
So we've killed something. My guess is that it's an enemy submarine based on these decoys. Torpedo 2, I'm actually going to set to go ahead and go active now.
Con, torpedo room 2.
Oh, there's another torpedo launch. We'll steer the torpedo in that direction.
Con, fire control.
It's
weapon
acquired something.
Con sonar, noisemaker bearing 072. Con sonar, noisemaker bearing 071.
And impact. And my guess is that's a second enemy submarine. We do have weapons nearby, which will be the enemy torpedoes. We'll go ahead and actually shut off
Con
active sonar.
Switching to passive search.
I'll go ahead and plot a course to the north.
Come left 2.
Set to 5
Make
knots.
turns for
Go ahead and
5
start heading that
knots.
direction.
Maneuvering eye.
Oh, we've actually just had the enemy torpedoes explode, probably after not finding anything after a distance, which a lot of modern day torpedoes have. We still have enemy weapons nearby though.
Con, torpedo room 2
Not
ready.
sure where. Oh, there it is right there. And
Con,
basically the
dive
reason
at
it's not
14,
detecting
0,
us
0 feet, dive by.
is because of the fact that we're beneath the kind of cone of detection. Basically every torpedo sensor has a giant cone that extends from the front of it. And if you can get outside of that cone, then it's impossible for the torpedo to detect you. So the reason I like diving so deep is because when the torpedoes are that shallow and you get underneath it, there's no way for the cone to extend that far down to where you are.
037. Designated
You can see we have
Sierra
another
1.
torpedo there, and again, it's way above us, we're underneath it, it's just not going to find us. So we'll wait for it to go past and explode eventually. I'll go ahead and speed the boat up a little bit.
Make turns for 10 knots. Maneuvering eye.
I am actually going to run active sonar
Con
again a
sonar,
little bit,
switching
see
to
if we can
active
pick up
search.
anything. It's not... Oh! We did get another ping back. So there's a third sub out there somewhere. I thought we were done, but I guess not. Go ahead and slow down
Make
again.
turns for 0 knots.
Shoot a
Maneuvering
torpedo.
eye.
Unfortunately, that one we weren't able to keep the wire on, which is unfortunate, so it's just
Con
gonna
sonar
go.
regained contact on Sierra 1 bearing 06.
We have picked up something with active sonar, however, now. And if it is a submarine, it's very close to the surface. And we can see that's actually our torpedo that the wire broke on. This could also be a whale, actually.
Con sonar.
Nope,
Sierra
it's a merchant
1
ship.
Is classified as merchant.
But we can see our torpedoes gonna run. We'll go ahead and follow it in, see if it
Con sonar
detects
lost
anything.
contact. Sierra 1, last bearing 079. Contact faded. Make turns for.
It's not
1,
looking like it, which is
0,
unfortunate.
9.
That torpedo will
Maneuvering eye.
eventually run out of propellant, essentially, and will explode when it runs out. Oh, we can see an enemy torpedo launch there.
Con, fire control.
And we've lost the wire again, which is not great. We'll need to go ahead and slow it down
Make
to
turns
0.
for. Make turns for.
Now that torpedo's
0.
gonna head off.
Maneuvering eye.
Have to hope that's enough. Looks like our other torpedo exploded, but we have 3 torpedoes being sent out of us pretty close to the surface. Now the issue with this is I'm sure that we're okay from being hit, but I'm not sure if our torpedo is going to have the upwards angle to detect the enemy submarine. And you can see that's actually one of the enemy submarines we've already hit. I'm pretty sure, unfortunately... Oh. Nope, this is actually going for the submarine. So our torpedo we did fire looks like it's locked on to the submarine. Getting closer and closer.
Con sonar. Noise
And
maker bearing
target hit.
085.
We do have weapons nearby, however, and that is another enemy submarine sunk. I think that's it. We'll finally kill active sonar.
Switching to passive search.
Gonna plot a course
Come left
direct north.
03, helm aye.
Actually, we're just gonna let this one torpedo go over. We're gonna let 2 torpedoes go over, actually. While this other torpedo goes in a circle. And now, once this goes fully over, we'll go ahead and set our course. Set a speed.
5 knots.
Go up to 10 knots.
Make turns for 10 knots.
And start getting on out of here. You can see there's another torpedo that passed over us. That'll be the 3rd one. There it goes.
Make turns.
We'll make speed for 20 knots.
0 knots. Maneuvering aye.
There's still enemy weapons nearby. We'll keep going. We'll check again, and now we're good. So we'll now leave combat. We can see 3 submarines went undetected, but I think we killed them all. 2 kilos and a song. So this is probably actually our objective. Yes, very pleased to see that you dealt with those subs with determination and resolve, Commander. Remember that for every enemy vessel we take out, it means safer transit for our troops and transports. Good work. Please await further orders on this downlink. Continue. Once again, convoys protected. Incidents involving attacks on convoys by hostile submarines in and around the South China Sea have rapidly diminished. An anonymous spokesperson suggested that increased U.S. submarine operations in the area are a contributing factor. However, the Pentagon has refused to comment on current operations. Without the threat of attack from submarines, trans-Pacific crossings are becoming more efficient and suffering less losses. If this improved influx of supplies and war materials can be sustained, U.S. forces will be in a position to secure the South China Sea region. And with that, with our second completed mission, I think is a great place to stop. So go ahead, if you like this episode, hit the like button. If you want to see more episodes in the future, hit the subscribe button. And if you want to be notified when future videos are released, make sure you hit the notification bell and select all. If for any reason you dislike the video, hit the dislike button, but at least in the comments let me know why. Also make sure you comment down below if you also liked the video. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and bye bye.